What's up, guys? This is Manoj Poptani. I welcome you all on behalf of the Edupedia world. So, guys, by now we have already covered two of our presentations relating to the topic capital markets. This is our third video presentation. I'm sure you guys are in the best of your health and spirit, definitely, and eager to learn the various new topics relating to the capital markets. So, in this presentation, I'll be covering a few more topics relating to the chapter capital markets. So yes, just sit at the edge of your chairs. We are all about to take off with our first topic of the presentation, and that will be National Securities Depository Limited. In short, that's called NSDL. So guys, why NSDL was incorporated, why there was a need of an entity which was named NSDL, why? So you'll get the answer of this why in my first thing, and that will be in earlier times there was a paper-based settlement of trades caused substantial kind of problems like bad delivery and delayed transfer of title. So it used to happen in the earlier days when there was no transparency in the system, online system was not available. So there used to be a paper-based settlement of trades, which actually caused substantial kind of problems. Somehow deliveries are not made on timely basis. There was a delay in the transfer of title, and which caused various cumbersome procedures to follow in day in, day out. So here comes, that was the time when there was a need to incorporate and bring in certain identity of an entity, which will help in this cancellation of all these procedures relating to, which is creating the substantial kind of problems relating to bad delivery on this. So a new system was involved, and there was this National Securities Depository Limited. It is the first depository of India, which was established by way of enactment of Depositories Act in August 1996. In depository system, the securities are held in a depository account, which is more or less similar to holding funds in bank account. So guys, it's basically a kind of a very hassle-free process, and certainly the securities are basically held not in paper-based form but rather in a depository account, which is more or like similar to holding accounts in your holding funds in your bank accounts. Similar to that, transfer of ownership of securities is simply done through account transfers. So if a person is willing to buy some kind of securities, he can simply contact the broker. Broker would get the securities sold by some of the sellers who are willing to sell the securities, and the accounts, like the securities, will be directly transferred from the seller's account to the buyer's account. The cost of transacting in a depository environment is definitely much lower than what as compared to transacting in certificates. Now there is no need to prepare the certificates time and again. You don't need to shift or transfer the certificates in the name of another person by making the new certificate. So this is actually a very risk-free and a kind of hassle-free process, which involves no kind of paperwork at all. So apart from that, there is another depository company which is by the name Central Depository Services Limited. So it was incorporated in the year 1999 by the Stock Exchange of Bombay Stock Exchange, with a jointly held with the leading banks such as SBI, Bank of India, Bank of Baroda, HDFC Bank, Standard Chartered Bank. These are actually banks which have been like leading banks with whom CDSL is being made. So Central Depository Services Limited, it was set up with a sole motive and objective of providing the convenient, dependable and secure depository services at a very affordable kind of cost to all the market participants. All the leading stock exchanges like National Stock Exchange, Kolkata Stock Exchange, Delhi Stock Exchange, Ahmedabad Stock Exchange have established the connectivity with CDSL as well. So CDSL's demat securities are extended through its agents, which are called depository participants. We'll be reading and we'll be having about the same in our forthcoming presentations as well. I'll be discussing in totality with how our depository participants work and what's the kind of functions do they have. So DP is basically the link between an investor and CDSL. An investor who opens up a demat account with a DP can utilize the services offered by CDSL. So guys, while the DP, that is depository participant, it usually processes the instructions which are provided to the CDSL through investor. The account and the records are maintained with CDSL. A depository participant is thus it acts as a service center for the investor. CDSL system is based out on a centralized database architecture with an online connectivity with DPs, that is depository participants. Because of this centralized architecture, the cost of setting up a DP output under CDSL system is significantly lower. The centralized architecture allows CDSL and DP to make available to the investors a minute-to-minute status of their account and transaction. That is how it works. So this is how actually NSDL and CDSL, both of them are depositories limited, how they actually work. I guess you got the complete clarity about the same things. And in our next slide, we'll be discussing about the facilities which are being offered by NSDL to the investors. That will be number 1, dematerialization. So guys, dematerialization basically means converting your physical certificates into an electronic form. So from materialization to dematerialization. Rematerialization. So that will be the conversion of your securities from demat form into physical certificates. That's the exactly opposite of dematerialization. Apart from that, an NSDL does facilitates for repurchase and redemption of units of mutual funds. That is again a kind of facility which is being provided by NSDL. Apart from that, an electronic settlement of trades in stock exchanges connected to NSDL. So that is also a kind of facility which is being provided by NSDL. Pledging or hypothecation of dematerialized securities against any loan. So if a person is willing to go for any kind of loan, so during that moment of time, he can pledge or hypothecate those securities which are available in the demat form with the NSDL and can directly go for that kind of loan against those securities as well. So this is also a kind of facility which is being provided by NSDL. Apart from that, electronic credit of securities allocated and allotted in public issue, right issue and preferential. So it's like simply whatever the kind of issue of securities is being made for the common public, and if investors buys those securities, then directly the company is going to allot those securities indirectly your NSDL account. That is the same which is being maintained with your depository participant. So electronic credit of securities will be directly made in your accounts in that way. Plus there will be a receipt of non-cash corporate benefits such as bonus in electronic form. Let's suppose the company provides any kind of bonus in the form of securities. So one don't have to go for any kind of paperwork during that moment. Simply that company is going to allot those extra bonus benefits which are in the form of new shares directly into your accounts, demat accounts. So that is also a kind of facility which is being provided by NSDL. So these were the kind of security related benefits which are being available in such a cases. Also apart from that, there is the last one, which is the freezing of demat account. So let's suppose you don't have enormous amount of funds in your account, and certainly you don't want that the same account should be debited anymore. So in that case, the debits from that account are not permitted once these are being freezed by the investor. So that is also a kind of facility which is being provided by NSDL. So overall, in a nutshell, it provides demat security related features, rematerialization feature, plus they also help in repurchase and redemption of the units. Along with that, there is an electronic settlement of trades. That is a great part. Plus, if you want to go for any kind of loan, you can simply pledge or hypothecate your dematerialized securities and you can easily avail the facility of loan. Plus, there will be direct electronic credit of securities. Whenever you purchase any kind of IPO or securities in such a case, definitely all those securities will be directly transferred to your account. Along with that, all the bonuses will be directly transferred in your account. Plus, if in case you want to freeze your account or if you don't want to go for any kind of debit option, the same can be permitted with NSDL. So guys, that was all about the facilities which are being provided by NSDL. So I hope you got the entire clarity as to what kind of facilities usually the NSDL provides. So let's move to our next topic, and that is book building. So guys, what is book building? So that has nothing to relate with any kind of book publishing or novel, nothing for that matter. So Book building in such a case, as per SEBI guidelines, defines book building as a process which is undertaken by a corporate body to assess the demand for its security that is proposed to be issued. Remember, I discussed with you regarding the same thing way back in one of my earlier presentations as well. So, book building basically helps with a kind of IPO segment to allow a company, which is a corporate body, to assess the demand for its security that it proposed to issue in the market. So, for example, I have my company, let's say company X. This is the first time I'm incorporating or like issuing my securities in the market, but sooner or later I have to understand this fact that I don't know, or I am not too sure about the kind of demand my securities have in the market. I don't know what kind of my securities would be able to fetch in terms of rupees from the market. What should be the market price of my securities? What is the valuation of my securities in the market? So this particular book building process helps my company to assess the demand for my securities which I am proposing to issue in the market. So that is how this book building process works. Such assessment is usually done by various means: a means of notice, circular, advertisement, or offer document. So investors who bid through this process can be categorized into three main types. One is retail individual investors, that is people like you and me, the common public. Next comes non-institutional investors. The last one is qualified institutional buyers, that is QIBs, NIIs and RIIs. So guys, book building is basically a capital issuance process which is used in initial public offer, which aids price and demand discovery. It is a process used for marketing a public offer of equity shares of a company. It is a mechanism where during the period for which the book or maybe select IPO is open, the bids are collected from investors at various prices which are above or equal to the floor price. The process aims at tapping both wholesale as well as retail investors. The offer or the issue price, we can say, is then determined after the bid closing date based on certain evaluation criteria. So guys, that is how the book building process actually works. The complete assessment of the price as well as the demand for securities is being made through book building process. However, having said that, there should be, or like always, with all the pros there are some cons attached. So there are following like drawbacks of book building as well. So book building procedure does not always result in efficient price discovery. That's maybe because the post listing prices are significantly lower than the prices arrived at by the book building mechanism. So that's a disadvantage or drawback of book building. Also, the policy of book building has also not resulted in widespread shareholding, as the ordinary investors have neither the expertise to make an assessment of the valuation of shares nor any kind of access to the book runner or maybe like syndicate member. So that has been the kind of drawbacks with book building process as well. So I guess I was able to provide you the entire clarity relating to the topic, which is book building. Now let's move to our next topic relating to the difference between a book building and a fixed price process. So what is the difference between a book building and a fixed price process? So I have divided my presentation into three basic criteria. One is pricing, next is demand, and last is payment. So in case of fixed price process, the price at which the securities are offered is already known in advance to the investor. One person already knows, okay, this securities is going to be like traded for the initial public offer for rupees 50. Okay, perfect. But in case of book building, the price at which securities will be offered is absolutely unknown in advance to the investor. Only an indicative price range is known. Recently, an issue for PNB Housing Society Limited has been issued, and for that matter, they have provided a range of rupees 750 to 775. So they are actually unaware whether all the securities will be traded for position of 775 or 750. So they have provided a range that is from 750 to 775 in case of Punjab National Bank Housing Company Limited. So that is the kind of feature which is available in fixed price and book building process. Next comes demand. So demand for the securities offered is also known only after the closure of the issue in case of fixed price process. The demand will be only known after the issue has already been closed. Okay, like this were the demand for the securities. But in case of book building process, the demand for the securities offered can be known every day, since the book is being made and built day in day out. The issuing company is able to know, okay, these many securities are in demand, because book building is surely a demand and price discovery mechanism only. So they will be able to know that, okay, our securities are in demand for these many units, or that many units, that way. Okay. And finally, in case of, as far as the payment is concerned, in fixed price process, the payment is being made at the time of subscription, wherein the refund is given after allocation. However, in case of book building process, the payment is made only after allocation. So that's the good thing about the book building process. So that's how there is a difference between a fixed price process and a book building process actually works. So guys, let's move to our next topic, that is reverse book building. Okay, so we have already discussed about how and by what means a book building process works and what does it mean. So now let's understand what is reverse book building. I've incorporated this segment into my presentation just for the sake of knowledge, in order to provide you the complete clarity as to how book building works and how reverse book building actually works. So in case of reverse book building, the company, owing to several circumstances, may get listed from exchange of trading. Let's suppose due to some guidelines which have been like imposed by SEBI regulations on my company. Let's suppose maybe tomorrow my company doesn't fulfill those kind of regulations or guidelines, and somehow that has to be delisted from the stock exchange. Then what would be done in such a case? So that happens in case of reverse book building. A company, owing to several circumstances, may get delisted from the stock exchange for trading. In such a case, a reverse book building is an efficient price discovery process which is adopted by the company, which aims to buy the shares from public or others way around, that way. So it's an effective kind of process that way, which is available in the market. So guys, while a book building process is adopted when an initial public offering or divestment is made, a reverse book building is an efficient price discovery process adopted by the company when the shareholder or the company basically aims to buy the shares back from the public or other shares. It provides an easy route to the shareholders in case they wish to sell them back to the promoters or acquirers. So in that's the case, my company is going to delist, okay, I'll be getting my securities back from the public. So in that case, reverse book building is an efficient price mechanism which will help me in discovering as to what price I can get back from the shareholders. So that's how it works. It provides an easy route for shareholders in case they wish to sell them back to the promoters or acquirers. So in reverse book building, basically like book building, a book is kept open for a number of days. Okay, that way the demand will be extracted, and that way the price can be discovered. So like usually in such cases, the details like floor prices, methodology to be adopted for an acceptable price, plus the kind of period of open offer will be disclosed when the process commences through the appointment of a merchant banker. Also, the exit price for delisting is set in accordance with the reverse book building process. The offer price will have a floor price, which is a minimum base price, which will be the average of 26 weeks traded price and will not have a maximum ceiling price. And usually market forces will determine the price above the base price. Stock exchanges will provide the infrastructure to ensure transparency, whereby the investors can see the prices on screen. To reduce the risk of price manipulation, the script will be under watch by the exchange. So guys, that's how a reverse book building mechanism actually works. So if in a case the price demanded by shareholders in a reverse book building is more than what the promoters are willing to pay for acquiring the shares, then in such a cases, reverse book building usually fails. So that has to be taken care of. Similar failure will be observed in kind of like there was a company named SKF India Limited. They were like having this kind of notion, okay, we'll be able to pay only this much, but the investors were expecting like something way beyond that. So here in that case, SKB's India Limited's reverse book building process got failed, wherein the foreign promoters found the offers too high. So that happened way back regarding the same things. So So that's the entire clarity relating to the topic of book building, the features, facilities, and the kind of reverse book building it works. So I'll be concluding my presentation with a dose of motivation, and that will be: don't ever let a dream fade because of time it will take. The time will pass anyways. So guys, don't worry about the timings. There might be some dreams, some aspirations, some desires which will actually take a considerable amount of time. But that doesn't mean that you need to let it pass, or like, okay, say maybe since it is going to take a considerable amount of time, I won't strive for that aim or desire. That shouldn't be the case. Even though it has to be taken, it will take some time, but one has to dream about it. Even if we'll take in concern of our PM, Mr. Narendra Modi, he basically once used to sell tea, but certainly he did had an aspiration. Okay, maybe tomorrow, maybe day after tomorrow, or maybe some years later, I'll become the Prime Minister of our nation. That's why he was able to make it possible, right? So one has to take the considerable actions as well into account. And if a dream is going to take a considerable amount of time, that doesn't mean that you let it pass over there. One has to strive for that as well. So don't ever let a dream fade away just because of the time it will take. The time will pass anyways. But once and for all, history will be remembered only by the name that, okay, Shri Narendra Modi once became the Prime Minister of the largest democratic nation of the world, that is India. So with this, I'll say thank you on behalf of the Edupedia world. Thank you guys, keep interacting, stay connected. I'd love to have your feedback in my comment boxes as well. Thank you all, love you, take care, bye.